Good morning. It is time for the big reveal. Are you guys excited? We're excited.
We are excited.
She tells me we're just going to rip the numbers off, and I'm a little nervous. About that.
Well, and I told her it wasn't my idea. It was Sarah's idea. She's like, just rip the numbers off. I'm like, okay.
Like, hopefully it doesn't rip anything else.
Yeah, because those safety pins might, well, it would make them wait a little longer to see what's underneath.
That's true.
Yep. So hopefully everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend and they're excited for today. It's our only Tuesday for our mystery quilt sew along. The rest of the time will be on a Monday.
Yeah.
But as you can see, we still have the numbers up on the back. Are we going to jump into it?
I think so. Well, first, before we do, has anyone downloaded their files? Because they're ready and they're in there. Put a me if you have downloaded the files and you kind of know already what you're about to see. And so put a me if that's you. And if you're like, what is going on? I don't know where I am or how I got on this video.
What are they talking about?
We've got some people. Yep, they're already got them.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are like, how do I get in on this? Put like a number 5 in the comments and we'll make sure to drop the link. So if you want to get in on this, you can. But we're revealing week 1.
We are
right now.
Yep. Very exciting.
Right now.
Why not?
Okay.
Let's just do it. Ready? Where should we start?
Do you want me to do close-ups and you just take them down, or are we both going to take them down?
You do whatever you want. I'm going to start ripping.
We probably should have figured this out. Well, before you start ripping, let me switch camera views and I will try to get, now, just so you guys know, I'm probably going to make you a little dizzy. It's not my intent. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to do the best I can to not make you dizzy, but also I just don't know how it's going to go.
Ready? Okay. These are the borders. Yeah, just rip them off, she says. These are the borders. I'm going to go this way. Throw them on the ground over there.
Oh, that was me. You hit me.
You'll be fine. I got them way over there in the corner now. You notice I'm just doing borders just to make you all wait. So this is the block we're stitching today, by the way. Ready? There it is. That is the block we are stitching. I'm going to start ripping down all the rest of them. How fun is this? Oh my goodness. Look at all those cute little border blocks. If I could find a way to trip on the paper that I'm throwing on the floor, I will do it.
I have one stuck on my shoulder that you threw at me.
There. Okay, so there's another number 1 that we are not going to stitch. I think I'll just go ahead and remove that one. You ready? Oops.
So reveal but not stitch.
Reveal but not stitch. This is also in your week 1 files. You ready? How amazingly fun is that?
Hopefully they can
so pretty. So all those colorful strips that you have that we tell you to buy or was in your kit are all, this is where you're going to be using them. You're also going to be using them here. So there is the first week's reveal.
I'm going to turn this camera off because it is so,
got it? Okay.
Shaky.
Very shaky. So there you have it, everybody. Let me get this one down. This is week 1. So this is what you will be sewing week 1. We're going to do this one in our live today. And then next week, of course, we'll do whatever's under week number 2, which you don't know yet. But it is just so much fun. I also wanted to show you, those who were watching what was our first week when we
launch week.
The launch week, you saw that I sewed this together. So now you know, some of you kind of wondered and asked, is this part of the mystery quilt? And the answer is yes, it is. So I will show you also. So there's what it looks like if you want a blue and white quilt. You know, you don't have to have different colors. You can have different shades of the same color. But isn't that fun? And the blue and white in these colors is also amazing. So the blue and white quilt, the little one, is what I'll be sewing the last week to show you how to join it all together. But this week, we're going to head over to the machine, and I guess I'll start stitching.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. All right. Okay, so hopefully everyone can still hear me. I am at the machine and I stitched out. I got started earlier today and I stitched out just the first step. And I usually do it in a colored thread. And this time I actually followed the instructions and did it in water soluble. And I wish I would have done it in color because you guys may not be able to see this really well. But basically, maybe this will help. Nope, that does not help. But basically, it's an outline of what the pattern is. So next week, I'll try and remember to do that in colored thread. So that's the first step of your design. So you would do a pattern. And then if you wanted to add wool, you can go ahead and do the wool step. If you're not going to be adding wool, and wool, by the way, is just going to give you a little bit more dimension in your quilt, if that's something that you want to do. Typically, I kind of lean towards using wool in the 8-inch, but in the 5-inch, I skip it because it's just smaller. It's just easier to do it without the wool, and it still looks beautiful just using battleizer. So your first step is to do a placement stitch, which is just the square, the shape of the block. The next step would be that wool if you choose to. If not, skip over to step 3. And step 3, my machine decided to go to sleep, is where stitches basically the pattern right onto your wool or your battleizer. And at this point, we're still using the water-soluble thread. And what you're going to do first is you're going to tack down the very first piece of fabric, which is in this corner. And I have my fabric all ready to go here. It will call for, it calls for fabric 1, and then it calls for some strips of some of your 7 colorful fabrics. And by the way, it doesn't have to be 7. It could be 8. It could be 9. It's whatever colors of fabric that you have that you can use. And even though on the quilt that we showed you, we used a hot pink and we used a lighter pink and an orange, it could be any one of those colors. Just use a size strip that your instructions tell you. So you can use any of the colors you want. It could be, it could be anything that you want in those corner blocks. So our first step, I'm going to set these aside because our first step, the instructions call for the fabric 1 strip. And this is my fabric 1 strip. So when we call for a strip instead of a cut square, I still have my selvage on here. So I could cut it off, or I could just know in my mind that I need to make sure my selvage is definitely outside my block. And what you're going to do is you're going to lay your fabric. Aubrey, do you have a pen over there handy? Because I didn't use color thread, I'm going to draw on my battleizer because I want you to see. Here is the outline for the first place we're going to put our fabric.
That's a first. Never seen you draw on it.
Never seen me draw. I don't think I've ever done it before, at least with an ink pen. Okay, so here's where we're going to place our first piece of fabric. And so we're going to make sure that we have at least 1/4 inch on this side inside the block. And on the bottom, since it's a strip, we know that we're going to have enough. So I'm just going to place this here, making sure I have 1/2 inch outside the block and 1/4 inch over on the side. And then I'm just going to hit the start button and it's going to sew a tack down for that. And then I realized I didn't have scissors.
You don't have anything yet.
I'm doing really good today. Oh my goodness. Here. You got one? Thank you. All right. Aubrey's handing me a hoop scissors mini. Okay, so now that I have that tacked down, what you're going to do, here's my seam. I'm going to trim 1/4 inch inside the block from that stitching. And I already have this about 1/4 inch. Anything on the outside of the block, you can just leave that 1/2 inch sit there. All right. So now our next step, it says in the instructions, we're going to put a neutral thread in the needle, which basically I'm already there. And I'm going to, this design and this block is going to call for fabric A, fabric B, fabric C. And those are the ones where you choose which ones out of those 7 colors are your A, B, or C. So I'm going to say that my A is going to be my orange. And this time I'm going to lay them right side down. I also do have my selvage here. When you cut the strips, you're going to have a little selvage. You can trim it off like so that it's not in the way. And you're going to lay it right side down with the raw edges even right down here. And your instructions have like a little image of each step so you know what'll happen.
And she's making the 5-inch block size right now. I saw a couple people ask that.
Okay, good question. So then with a neutral thread, I'm just going to hold the fabric until it begins stitching and it sews the seam. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my fabric right side up and I'm going to do a little finger press in the seam. And then I'm going to hit the start button again, and it's going to sew a tack down for that piece of fabric.
You're using neutral thread now.
Yes, yes. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to trim this piece also 1/4 inch. Anything on the inside of the block will be trimmed 1/4 inch. So now I'm ready for step 7. And step 7 also calls for the same color fabric. So I'm going to lay this piece right side down, again with those raw edges even, and it'll stitch a seam right there. Okay, and then I'm going to flip this fabric right side up. We're just doing a stitch and flip until we get this filled with fabric. And we're going to finger press that seam, and I'll hit the start button again. And I still have the same thread in there, the same neutral color thread. And there it does a tack down. And from here, again, I'm going to trim 1/4 inch from that stitching, from that tack down stitching. I'm using my little hoop scissors mini. Okay. Now, if you have a scrap that you think is big enough that you could use later, start a little scrap basket and just put those in there because you might need to pull from that later. You won't need to, but you might want to. Okay, so then our next step says that we're going to go back to fabric 1, which is the white that we put here in the corner. And we're going to use that strip, and we're basically going to just pretty much be doing the same thing. We're right side down with the raw edges even, and then hit the start button and still using that neutral thread. It's going to stitch a seam. Okay, so now what we're going to do says to flip fabric right side up and finger press. And then we're going to trim the fabric. There is no tack down here because we're going to do the tack down for this one and the next one all at once. So you're going to just do a nice finger press there, and then you can trim straight across right here like this. And then we're going to use this piece of fabric that we just cut off for the seam right here. So we'll lay this again right side down with the raw edges even. And we will sew another seam. All right, now we'll flip this up and we will finger press that seam. And we'll smooth out this fabric and also the fabric that we stitched down right before that. And then with the same thread, still that neutral color thread, we're going to sew a tack down stitch. And now we can trim all of this 1/4 inch away from that tack down stitch. And we'll take this white fabric, we'll set it aside because we'll be using it again in just a moment. And also trim 1/4 inch from this side of the tack down stitch. And now for this step, we're going to go on to another color of fabric, and it's labeled fabric B. So for me, I decided that my B for this particular block was my teal. So again, if you want to go ahead and cut your selvage off, you can go ahead and do that. Or you could just leave it on and begin sewing again. Just keep in mind that you may need to have your fabric moved over just a little bit. So then for this step, we're going to lay this one. It's kind of the same thing over and over. So the repeating is actually kind of nice. So I am laying it right side down, raw edges even. I have probably a little bit more than 1/2 inch, but leave at least 1/2 inch that is extending outside the block. I'm using the same thread and I'm stitching a seam. All right, and then I'm going to flip it. I'm going to finger press it. And it's going to sew a tack down, and then I'm going to trim 1/4 inch from that tack down. I think that orange and that teal look pretty nice together. Very vibrant. All right, so I'm going to trim this 1/4 inch from the tack down. And this little piece of teal that I'm cutting off here is kind of small, but if you want to just put it in your little basket of scraps that you maybe could use later, you go ahead and do that. So now I'm going to continue using the teal fabric, and I'm going to lay it right side down with the raw edges even. And again, I'm extending, this is the top of my block, so I have it extended at least 1/2 inch. And I'm going to stitch the seam. And then I'm going to flip the fabric and finger press it. And with the same thread, again, that neutral thread, it's going to sew a tack down stitch. And then I'm going to trim a scant 1/4 inch or 1/4 inch. Does not need to be perfect. All right, I'm finished with my strip of teal or my strip B. And again, I'm cutting 1/4 inch from the tack down on both sides. And then guess what? Now I need my white fabric. I better be careful here because I'm not reading instructions. And maybe it's been a few months since I've done this. Okay, so then we're going to use our white fabric again, and we're going to lay it down. Now you can see there's an angle here from where we cut it previously. What I like to do is just make sure, just lay it in place and then just do a little flip and just check to make sure that when you flipped it, that you do have enough coverage there. The other thing you could do is you could just cut a straight line on it if you want to, if you feel more comfortable. Okay, so I'm going to now sew a seam with that same thread. And I'm going to flip it and finger press it. And then I'm going to cut this fabric right along here. Cut my white fabric, and then I'm going to turn it upside down, put it right sides together up here with the raw edges even so I can sew the seam for the next piece. All right, so now I'm going to flip this right side up and I'm going to finger press it. And now it's going to sew the tack down. And again, we don't have a lot of thread changes in this block, which is kind of nice. Makes things go a little faster. And now it'll sew a tack down stitch. Make sure your fabric is laying nice and smooth. Okay, and now I can use my hoop scissors or your hoop scissors mini to trim again 1/4 inch from that tack down stitch. I'll lay my white aside for right now. Okay, and I will show you here that I have a little bit of teal peeking out. We don't want that to show through in your finished block. So if you want to pull your white fabric back and just trim that a little bit so that it's covered with white, that would probably be a good idea. And so our next step is we're going to use your fabric C. And so the pink is my fabric C. And we're going to do the same things all over again. This time I'm going to leave the selvage on there. And I'm just going to keep in mind that I still need 1/2 inch on the outside of the block where the fabric is. With my right sides down, I'm going to put those raw edges even. I'm using the same neutral thread, and it's going to stitch a seam. I can't wait to see the different color combinations that everyone's going to use, even though we all have the same kit.
A lot of us,
We're going to all put all those colors in a different place, which is going to make it kind of fun.
It's like you have some design ability in there.
Exactly. They're not all going to be cookie cutter. So now I'm just going to flip it, finger press it, and it's going to sew a tack down to hold this in place. And then I'm going to trim 1/4 inch from that tack down stitch. And I'm going to use the same pink to do a seam on the other side. It's pretty easy and fun, and it flows nice. It just has a nice flow in stitching this one. So now I'll put this one right side down with the raw edges even, extending 1/2 inch on the outside of the block. And we're going to sew another seam. And then we flip it. And again, using the same thread, we're going to sew a tack down. So I'm first going to finger press, smooth out my fabric, and then it'll stitch that tack down stitch. Look at those beautiful points. This is the fun thing about doing Hoop Sisters, is that your points are going to be absolutely perfect. And then I'm going to trim this 1/4 inch from the tack down stitch. Do the same thing over here on this side. And then we're going to be using our white fabric again. And we're going to be sewing a seam right here with our white fabric. So I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to make sure that my pink is covered, and you'll do this probably with all the colors. We say raw edges even, but make sure that the colored fabric is covered sufficiently with the white, because you don't want that to show through on your block, the darker color. All right, then we can flip it and finger press it. And I'm going to trim this off. We don't do a tack down here. We're going to do it after we do the other seam. So then we cut this off. We make sure that's finger pressed and smoothed out. And we'll take our white and we'll lay that right side down, raw edges even, and sew this seam. We're almost done. This is the last of the fabric to be added to here. All right, now I will flip this right side up and I will finger press it and smooth out that fabric. And the next step is you're going to put water soluble thread in your needle and you're going to sew basically a basting stitch around the entire block. That basting stitch is going to be there so that you have something to put your trimmer by George up against when you're trimming your blocks, which we're going to trim this one in just a few minutes. The trimming your block, now some may ask, are we putting backing fabric on this? And the answer is no. This quilt is going to have a one-piece backing on both the 5 and the 8-inch. But we are doing a basting stitch around the whole thing so that our trimmer by George has something to work with. So switch to your water soluble thread, and then it's going to do a basting stitch around the entire block. Right, I want to stop the machine right here because we had with our seams and our flipping, we had folds that went with our fold in this direction. Now our folds up here, we're going to have our presser foot possibly hitting one of these. So as it does the basting stitch, have your a stiletto or I'm going to use the Point by Hoop Scissors Mini, but just make sure it's pressed down really good, even outside the block. And then as it skims over it, just make sure that those little flaps are laying flat. So after it stitches over that one, I'll move to the next one and the next one. And okay, I'm going to trim this off a little bit. And you will take this and all the other pieces that you have left, you will save those so that you can use them in upcoming blocks. Now our next step is our quilting step. So I have just, you can choose, it's the quilting that'll be on the white. So I'm matching my thread, which is my white thread, with this. And then after that, there's another quilting step, which will go inside of each of these colorful areas here. And you can choose whatever color thread you want. So let's go ahead and do the quilting on these. And then I think Aubrey may have some things to show you, like how to get your files. So while that stitches, we'll go on to that.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to take you guys over. So some of you I saw put in the comments number 5, meaning you don't know what is this? I want to get in on it. What's going on? So we're going to have Nina drop the link so that you all can go to our website if you want to get in on this. This is week 1 out of 5 weeks. And each week we're going to be pulling a number off of this. Week 5 is just putting it all together, so no reveal or anything. But there's still time to participate and have fun. So we'll drop the order link. If you order Mystery Quilt, you're going to receive the emails with the links to the lives. You're also going to receive the replays in your email. So if you are a Mystery Quilter, you're going to get that. These replays are also always available on YouTube. So what I want to take you over and show you now, though, is how to download your files. Anybody participating and they're like, I'm not really sure how to download this stuff. I'm going to take you over there right now and show you how to do that. It's super duper easy. So if you have ordered and it's time to access your files, you're just going to go to our website, hoopsisters.com, where you bought it at. Okay. So on the website, and then you're going to log into your account. You're going to click this person icon that's over on the top right-hand side of your screen. And once you click on that, it's actually going to take you right into your order history. Okay. The last thing I ordered was the Mystery Quilt. So the newer items, if you've ordered something since Mystery Quilt, you might have to scroll down a little bit. Your newer items are going to be at the top. So once you find that, you're just going to click right on your order number. So I'm going to click on that. And then it's going to show me everything that's available in this download so far. And every week you're going to come through this same exact way. So we've got the workbook from launch week is in there. I don't really need that anymore, but it's in there. Our fabric and thread key is also in here to download. And then of course our week 1 files are in there to download as well. Can you guys see what I'm showing you? Nope, they can't. My screen share is not working. Let me try this again. Our screen share is acting up. Okay. I'm going to go back. I don't know why it wasn't working, but here we go. All right. I think it's working now. All right. So when you're at hoopsisters.com, again, you're just going to click on the person icon. It's at the top right of the web page, the home page. And once you do that, it's going to sign you into your account. It'll take you right to your orders, And like I said, my order, the last thing I ordered was Mystery Quilt. So it's right there at the top. If you've ordered something since you ordered Mystery Quilt, then you might have to scroll down a little bit. But once you find the Mystery Quilt order, you're going to click on the order number. So I'm just going to click right on that number. And the very first thing that's going to pop up, this is easier than our other website was. It makes it very obvious where those downloads are. So you just click these download buttons over here. Okay. So the week 1 zipped file is kind of at the bottom there. Click download. It'll download right to your computer and you will have the blocks and the instructions and everything that goes along with week 1. And then you're just going to follow those same steps each week to get your next week's files. So next Monday, it won't be a Tuesday next week. It'll be next Monday. You will start to see week 2.zipped and you'll be able to go in and download that there as well. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware. Okay, good. Good. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to send it back over to you. Or do you want to look at these questions?
I'll come over here by you. Well,
All right.
does its thing.
I've got some start.
Yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and post them. We'll try and answer it. Do we put the water-soluble thread in the bobbin? No, you do not, Jackie. You will put just embroidery bobbin thread in your bobbin, which is great. You can just get a whole bunch of it, pre-wound bobbins, or you can just wind a whole bunch and get ready of the embroidery bobbin thread throughout the whole quilt. You will just use embroidery bobbin thread. No reason to wind up any water soluble or anything else.
All right. Here's another one for you.
Does Dream Wool or Dream Puff work for the whole design? Yes, you can use either of those. We use the Dream Wool and we love it. So go ahead and use that.
All right.
Can you use wool on some blocks and not others? You could, Debbie, but you have to understand that if you use wool, you're going to have more dimension in some of the blocks than others. So keep that in mind. It may look best to either one or the other. Test them out and see which way you like it best with some scrap fabric or something. But I think for the most part, we either choose either one way or the other. Can we use a pre-wound bobbin or Aurifil? You can use a pre-wound embroidery bobbin thread. Yes, if Aurifil has a pre-wound bobbin thread, go ahead and use that.
All right, moving on.
Okay, we have this question, I think, in our VIP group. And
I always feel like if one person asks,
right,
we might as well talk about it. Someone
right,
else is wanting to know.
Right, exactly. I really don't think that you need to use that extra product. The easiest thing to do is to trim the darker fabric a little, maybe a scant 1/4 inch, and leave the white a 1/4 of an inch, just so the white covers that darker fabric. I don't think you need that extra layer of something in your quilt. It could just make it feel a little more stiff and cumbersome.
Okay. I thought this was a nice comment.
Oh, Peg, thank you.
Okay. And then I've seen a couple questions on neutral thread. Let's look at this one.
All right. Can you please describe or define what a neutral thread? Okay, when we say neutral, I should probably word it differently. It's a neutral color. You can use just a regular sewing thread. You can use your Oracle color, whatever you have. Just a color that's neutral to what you're doing. It's basically neutral color. I happen to be using just white embroidery bobbin thread because I have a lot of white that's in this one. But that's what we mean by neutral. It's basically a neutral color. And yes, you're thinking white, and you're absolutely right. And that's what we're using.
Okay. So I've also seen a couple questions about prepping wool.
Oh,
and
good question.
I know that Nina has dropped a link to the how-to, but I've seen it a couple times. So that makes me think there might be people watching this or the replay that still might need a little bit of explanation.
Judy, your question is amazing. I love it. It says, she asked, could you demonstrate how to hoop the wool and battleizer? Basically, you're going to hoop only the battleizer. And then what you're going to do is you are going to cut a square of wool the size that we tell you to cut it.
You know
Can we do this camera? Okay, we're going to move to a different camera.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get you all the things.
Yeah, you are. I know. Give me the battleizer, the wool. So this is our square of wool. And hopefully you can see that it has been pressed on the edge. It's a little flatter right there. So we tell you in the instructions, if you're doing a 5-inch, you're going to, I think it's 4 7/8, but read your instructions. Don't go by my memory. And then the 8-inch blocks, I believe is 7 3/4. You're going to cut your wool that size. And then with the side of your iron, you're just going to flatten the sides. You can see how nice and flat the sides are. But then the center of it that'll be in your block is going to be nice and poofy and give you a lot of dimension. But what I like to do is just use a piece of parchment paper and put it over the top when I press it, because wool batting just has a little bit of glue in it to hold all that wool together. But use a piece of parchment paper and just with a hot iron, you don't need any steam or anything, but with a hot iron, it'll flatten the edges, and that'll keep your presser foot from getting caught. So you don't have to, it's difficult and wasteful to be trying to hoop 2 different products. And we should probably talk, since I mentioned wasteful, about Frankenbat too.
Well,
and we can get to that at some point when we do this. But this is how you prepare your wool. Or Aubrey's hunting around for things that have come up.
Well, I think I saw someone ask, just to kind of give them another idea, like this is what you're hooping. This is hooped. This just goes on the placement stitch, sort of like how you place your fabric.
Yeah.
You're going to do that with the wool. Okay. Now she's left me and she's changing thread. Is there a special kind of wool? What's the kind we like? The Quilter's Dream Puff. Is it called Dream Wool? But whatever you like, I'm sure would be fine.
You know, if you have a wool allergy, you know, you could try out a polyester or bamboo or see what's going to work for you. All right. Can we show them over here?
Right.
Okay. All right. So here we have, it looks like maybe my camera from vibration did a little wiggling. So I have all my quilting done. It's white on white, so it might be difficult to see, but you'll probably see it better when we move over there. Now you can change to whatever color you want. I put green thread in the needle, and it is the polyester embroidery thread is what we like, whatever quality brand your local sewing shop sells. And you guys know all the brand names. Just go to your local quilt shop, your local sewing machine dealer. They will have the quality polyester thread that you need for embroidery. So I'm just going to hit the start button, and we're going to do just some outline quilting on the inside of the colored area.
So here's a good question from Diane. Will a 6x6 hoop work?
Yes, it will, Diane. Yep. Your 5-inch block will work on a 6x6 hoop. but unfortunately the 8-inch blocks will not work, but you can still do it with a 6-inch, with a 5-inch. And that's what I'm stitching today. And throughout all these weeks, I'm going to be doing 5-inch blocks.
There you go. Yeah. And then Joni brought up bamboo. Bamboo is a wonderful substitute. Yep. I think Joni uses it.
I think so.
A substitute to wool if maybe you have it laying around your sewing room or you're allergic to wool. Bamboo is a really good substitution as well. Okay. All right. Should we draw a ticket?
Yeah.
While you're finishing your quilting. And then someone else did. We're going to do a red ticket giveaway in just a second. But someone, I think, popped in late and said, was there another block? And I took my wobbly phone camera out of the feed, so I can't get any closer to this right now. But we can always post a picture of this one later. But this one's really beautiful, too. And you can see these pops of colors from the fabric and thread key showing up in there, too. All right. She looks like she's moving things around over here.
I am moving things around. Okay, there is our completed block.
It's really
I have to look for things like a rotary cutter and a trimmer by George. All right, so when you complete your block, you can go ahead and take it out of the hoop. And we'll set our hoop aside. And then, of course, you have all this extra stuff laying around here. So this is where you need to look at your instructions to see how to trim your block. Now, since this is placed in the corners of our quilt, but there's borders around it, if you're going to be trimming the block so that this is the edge of your quilt, you will trim, and you decided not to add a border, you will trim 1/4 inch from all these areas. But if you want to add a border to it, then you're going to trim using the trimmer by George. And basically the trimmer by George is going to remove all the bulk from the seams. So I'm going to show you how to do that.
I think it's Jonna. She just used a green thread. And then, green thread here. And then she used like a matching kind of white thread for the rest of it.
Okay. All right. So here's the rule of thumb for all Hoop Sisters quilts. If this is the edge of your quilt, you trim 1/4 inch through all layers there. But if you're going to join one of the sides to another block, then you use the trimmer by George. So let me first explain what the trimmer by George is. It's basically a ruler, acrylic ruler, and on the acrylic ruler, it has a metal edge, that crimped metal edge to it. And this crimped metal edge protects the fabric on the front of your quilt and also gives you a guide to run your rotary cutter against. So if we didn't have this trimmer by George and we decided we wanted to trim the bulk as close as we can to that seam, you could try and use the scissors. Your chances of slicing into this are pretty great.
Hope you're steady.
Or if you wanted to use the side of a ruler or rotary cutter, you probably would also slice into that. And the beauty of the trimmer by George is that you just take that metal edge and shimmy it right in there against the seam and lay it down, and then do a gentle tug. And then you will use a 60 millimeter rotary cutter. And you're going to use the 60 because that metal edge brings it up a little bit. And you need to have the clearance between the center of your rotary cutter. So you need a little bit bigger rotary cutter. And then you just use that metal edge to trim against. So I'm going to go ahead and trim all the way around this one. Since this would be if I was going to
wait, you can Frankenbat. Don't do that side.
Okay, we'll do the side first. Aubrey's correcting me and she's right. So you see all this extra battleizer? It's good to cut over here first rather than going this direction. That way you have a nice area to be able to rehoop this. So again, I have my metal edge of my trimmer by George right there. I have it nice and close. So you can use this to Frankenbat, which we'll talk about in just a second. And then I'm just going to do all my edges that are joined to another block using this method. So pull the fabric back, shimmy the metal edge of the trimmer by George and lay it down. Give it a gentle tug, but make sure you didn't get too rough, and maybe just make sure no fabric's peeking. And then the metal edge you use to cut against to remove all the bulk. One more side. Again, I'm just shimmying that metal edge between the fabric and the battleizer and laying it down and making sure no fabric's peeking. And then I can rotary cut it right away. So you can see how it's really going to remove the bulk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then what you do after that is you're going to trim 1/4 of an inch from the basting stitch on here. Sometimes the white on white, at least for my old eyeballs, is a little hard to see. So I will flip it over. The battleizer is a little easier to see on there sometimes. So you line your 1/4 inch mark on the other side of your trimmer by George, the ruler side, and you will trim 1/4 of an inch from that basting stitch. I feel like I didn't get that. There we go. We'll just spin this around till we have it all cut to 1/4 of an inch. Okay, one more side. The 1/4 inch mark on my ruler is right on the basting stitch. And then we have it all trimmed up. So there you can see it's ready to have a block sewn to every side of it. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. Let's talk about Frankenback that Aubrey mentioned. I know this is a little skinny strip, but sometimes you'll have bigger ones, or maybe the next one. Maybe the next one will be a little wider. Just save these scraps and you can just Frankenback them together. And what I mean by that is basically you're going to just zigzag these together. Just put it under your regular sewing machine, just zigzag them together. And that way you can rehoop them and that'll save you a lot of money. So there we go. Did we have any more questions?
Let's see. I have a couple things starred. We did that one. Sharon asked, she said she hasn't used water soluble thread. Sharon, I might email Nina or check the comments because she can drop a helpful kind of water soluble guide in the comments, and that should help clear things up. And then let's look at this one, Mom.
The water soluble thread. There was one time where my husband came home and I was sewing and I was frustrated because I needed my water soluble thread. And no, I take that back. That was my invisible thread. Yeah. And I couldn't find it. And he just laughed at me. He says, you can't find your invisible thread, huh?
Yeah.
So, yep. But we did have our basement flood one time and there was a big goop of water soluble thread floating in the basement. That was not pretty.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kathy says, is the pinkish part of the quilt, a pinkish part of the second block supposed to be a flower? Are you going to stitch that out as well? We are not going to stitch that block out today, Kathy. We picked one block for every week, and some weeks have more than one block. But yes, this pinkish part, it's kind of like, what would you call that shape? I'm like drawing a blank, but they're all kind of very artistic looking flowers that you'll see in there. And so that's what that one is there.
And these are slightly different.
They are. And that's just because of how they're rotated. So every week, the blocks that we give you, we tell you how many to make. So you'll make 4 of these and you'll make 4 of these. The border blocks, you'll make 24 of each. And then of course, 4 for the corners. But basically you've got this grid where you're going to have these 9 blocks and then they're going to be turned a quarter. And that's why you're doing long explanation. That's why you're doing 4 blocks. Every single block head, you're going to stitch out 4 of them.
All right. Here's another question.
If you use a giant hoop, can we do more than one at a time? Oh, yeah.
Paisley.
Oh, yeah.
They said
Paisley. Thank
Teardrop.
you. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Put as many as you can in there. And if you're doing the same block in the hoop, you can do a color sort on your machine most likely. And that way you'll be able to do step 1, step 1, step 1, step 1, step 2, 2, 2, 2, and so forth.
Okay.
What size blocks did you make for the mystery quilt in the background? Those are the 8-inch blocks. This is 8 inches. It's actually 7 3/4 inches because sometimes those hoops called 8-inch by the sewing machine manufacturer sometimes are just slightly less than 8. So we make our blocks slightly less so they fit. What size block? Oh, I already read that. Okay.
Yep. So this next one is kind of like a pop quiz. For you.
Okay. I can do this. Any advice on using batiks or not? Yes.
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 That's advice. Yes.
Yes.
Do it.
Do
Okay.
it. Absolutely do it.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, that was easy.
I had her all scared and it was super easy. Okay. There's that. Oh, you wanted to show this too.
Oh, yeah. So the block that we stitched out today would also make a gorgeous quilt all on its own. So you're going to make 4 of these to put in your mystery quilt. But if you really like stitching this block and you want to make a quilt for somebody that's, you know, for a husband or Father's Day or birthday or grad or whatever, this block itself all on its own would make a beautiful quilt. Isn't that stunning?
It'd be a cool pillow too.
It would be
like a 4-patch section of it.
Very, very cool pillow. And you could choose different ways to lay it out, as you can see in that picture. But that is an awesome way to just make another quilt with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see what you guys do. Now, a lot of you are watching on YouTube because it's easier for us to send links directly to it through YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that you guys will also find our Hoop Sisters VIP Facebook group and post your progress pics, because it's going to be really fun to see your color placements opposed to other people's. Some of you shopped your fabric stash, and I can't wait to see how some of those come together. So I would highly, a bed runner. You could do a bed runner out of that as well.
Absolutely. You could have a lot of fun with that block.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we did it. We revealed week 1.
Yeah. There it is. So we'll get out of the way.
And I know I don't think we showed this, but you wanted to show this too. Did you show this?
I think I did show this.
Okay, let's look.
Because it's always so much fun to be able to see different colorways of stuff. That's why we really want you to post your stuff. So this would be if you wanted to do like a blue and white quilt, or red and white, or greens, or whatever. You could stick to the same color and just have a bunch of different shades, maybe different prints of the same color. So just maybe a little completely different way of stitching this out, maybe even using the same color.
And then I want to bring this one up here. So Sue, this is her first quilt.
Nice.
So, and she's trying to keep her colors like your sample.
Okay.
So you might want maybe email us and we can help her out so that we don't get something wrong. So what I'm going to do is pop up, if anyone needs any personalized help, reach out to Nina, and she can always coordinate with Annie too, and we can get you exactly taken care of and what you need.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of people in that VIP Facebook group. Is a good place to go to. And this weekend we had a lot of people posting pictures of their fabric. And so it's just fun to see what everyone else is doing. If you're not sure and you want someone's opinion, you can either come direct to us or post on that VIP group.
Yeah, and that's a really nice group of people. Like, no one's mean. Everyone's supportive and has really good creative advice too. So it is nice to post in there. We have never used batting seam tape to Frankenbat. No. But if it works for you, then go ahead and do it.
Try it.
Someone wants us to get out of the way so they can see.
Happily.
Does that help at all?
So yeah.
It does keep
next
going.
Week you'll have an entire corner.
There.
So what do you think is the rest of it? Now's the time to do a cute little screenshot of the phone if you want.
That's what I think someone was trying to do. Everything that we come out with is digitized in-house. So Annie, my mama.
It's my fault if something's not right.
She digitized this quilt. We also have my sister is a designer and digitizer here at Hoop Sisters. but she's getting ready to go on maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then my aunt, her sister, they're the Hoot sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we do is in-house.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we actually have a new designer in-house.
We do, which is very exciting.
Yes. And so you'll meet her very soon.
Yes, you will.
But everything comes from us. We don't outsource it at all. So they do an awesome job. Okay. I think we did it.
We did it. Week 1.
Oh, ticket.
Oh,
you guys were about to let me.
Did they remind you?
No, but they know they need to.
Right.
You want to stick your hand?
I will.
You're so short.
I am short. Oh my.
Oh, is that it?
I guess that's it. It just flew out of there. So
it flew. Here, let's put it under here and we'll post this ticket number as well.
I need to move it so it can be seen easier. It's very bright. Here, let's try this. I have to do something with lighting. It doesn't show up very good. Is that better?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll
take a photo.
I'm going to type it in the thing.
Yeah.
It's 933040.
We're going to post this in the VIP group?
Oh yeah. We're going to take a picture of it and everything. Okay. Yep. So this is our winner. Now here's how this is going to work. Everyone's probably got to go find their ticket. Don't know if the winner's on here right now. But find your ticket. Take a look at it. If you are number 933040, you need to take a picture of this and email it to Nina. Okay. So you have the other end, has the same matching number. Email that to Nina. And you have 4 days.
Ooh.
4 days.
So Friday, end of the business day Friday?
Yeah, for
Tuesday.
this week. And then the Mondays, it'll be the Thursday. Okay. So check your ticket and you have 4 days. If we don't have anyone email Nina with their picture, then we're going to pull another ticket next week. Okay.
I thought you were going to say there's going to be a rollover, but
no,
you just pull
we're
just
pulling another one.
Okay.
So the red tickets, you got this during launch week. Those orders got a red ticket in the bucket. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did a digital download, you still got, Nina actually wrote those on there and put it in the bucket. Okay. Downloads did receive a ticket, but not a physical ticket in hand. Okay. So tickets are done. You can't get any more tickets. They were just during pre-order launch week when you got all the bonuses and all that kind of stuff. So if you have questions, reach out via email to Nina. If you are ticket number 933040, whether your order was a download or whether it was shippable, well, yours wasn't a download because we wrote it on the back. So this was a shippable order. Then email Nina. Okay. So we're going to tape that onto my computer. We've typed it in there and I'll post it in our VIP Facebook group as well. Okay. You will know what your number is because your ticket was sent to you. You will not know what your number is if you got a download. If you got a download, your name is on the ticket and we will call your name. Okay. All right.
And what do they win?
$100.
Oh, wow.
And store credit.
That's awesome.
Store credit.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So it is not a downloadable winner because there's no name written on it. This is a shippable with your packing slip in your order ticket. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so someone's going to have to claim that $100 by end of day Friday, okay? And we will see you all next Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern for week 2 when we take down the number 2 papers, okay? All right, exciting. Can't wait to see everything you guys create. Go ahead and post it in the group.
Yeah. Yep. We'll see you next Monday.